Jason Orange to me is one of the best all-round performers I think I've ever met. He had the look, he had the charisma, he had the personality, and he had the skills. When he joined the Hitman and Her dance crew with us, he stood out like a beacon amongst all of us. You know, you can just see the star quality in someone, and you could see it in Jason right from the word go. You know, the fan mail started rolling in, and it was just, you could just see it in him. And you're right, he'd spent years learning to do what he can do, and especially with breakdance, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get hurt a lot. I think a lot of people, you know, you watch breakers now, and generally when you see them, you only get to see the good part. So you're watching all these moves, and they're spinning on their heads, and their elbows, and their necks, and all this. But to get to that point, it's brutal.
Got to be committed.
It's remarkably hard. I think some people underestimate how difficult it is and the sacrifices that you have to make.
Yeah.
Like you said, for almost anything, if you want to succeed at that certain level, it has to be that and only that. Mm-hmm. And loads of people, they simply don't understand it. And sometimes the sheer will is more important than the ability. You can have all the ability in the world, but if you don't have the mindset to set everything else aside and go, it has to be just about this, then you're not going to go anywhere. You'll be able to do whatever you're doing, maybe at an amateur level, but once you start mixing with the pros, you have to be professional, and you've got to go, it's this, and it is only this. There's no time really for family, there's no time for friends, there's no time for relationships, that all becomes secondary. It has to be this and only this. So, and I think a lot of people make that mistake where they will turn up for classes, and obviously I use George Sampson as a reference because I work with George so much, and a lot of people kind of know that. And the amount of parents that will turn up and say, make my kid like George. And I always say to them, what you don't understand is what made George and why he won Britain's Got Talent wasn't necessarily because of what we taught him. It was the drive that he had. And there were days when George didn't want to train, and he still did. He'd be getting upset, and he'd been training 3, 4, 5 times that week already, and he didn't want to go again. But he had no choice. It was like, George, if you want to win this competition, if you want to be good, you're training. You know, one of the lines that I used to use, I don't use it on dancers so much nowadays, I've kind of mellowed quite a lot, but it often burst into tears during training because, like you said, it's brutal. Yeah. And I was trained that way, so I only know how to teach really one way. So when dancers would start to cry, I would just say to them, look, you can dance and cry at the same time, and they would have to do both. And they would learn that way that you will get no sympathy from me. And a lot of dancers, they hated me with a passion. The girl I was talking about before, the daughter of the owner of the studio that I work in now, I've worked with the daughter now for, it's got to be maybe 10, 15 years. When I worked with her at first, and she must have been maybe 4 or 5, I think after a couple of lessons with me, and obviously her mum knows me because I trained her too, so she's just like, look, just do what Bob says. She hated me that much that she went home and wrote out this, almost like a document. I hate Bob. He's the meanest teacher in the world. You think how much hatred there's got to be in a 4-year-old child? So not just think how much she hates you, to go down and physically write this out and give it to her mother and go, that's how much I can't stand him. Which we now laugh at now, because I ask her about it now, and she's like, you were right all along. She actually said I was a spoiled little brat, if I'm honest. She said I didn't understand what you were doing, because she's now really, really, really good. And I think a lot of the students feel like that about me, you know, probably a lot of the parents too. I'm just not bothered, because my job is to make you good by any means necessary.
But you also take it seriously, though.
Yeah, that's it. The part of me taking it seriously, where if you come to me and say, make me good, after that point, you've either got to do it the way I'm telling you to do it, or you need to leave and go somewhere else. The choice is yours, but I'm not going to change the way that I'm going to train you, because the reality of it is, like you just said, if your ambition is to mix it with the professionals, you need to understand the whole environment is harsh. The public have no obligation to be nice to you. When you walk out on the stage, you have no idea what the reaction is going to be. The public are not going to tell you that you're good if they don't think that you are. You know what I mean? So you need to learn that right from the beginning. And looking back now, when I was learning and my teacher was teaching me, he didn't really teach me how to dance. He taught me choreography and he taught me how to understand how routines work. But most of the actual dancing, I taught myself at home. What he was teaching me was preparation for being in the industry, preparation for people saying, you know, your dancing's rubbish or you have no right to be on this stage. And that's the part that you need to learn. If you want to mix it at that level, the public have no obligation to be nice to you. So anything I'm saying to you, I guarantee you, the public are going to say things that are 10 times worse. You need a thick skin to work in entertainment. I'd tell you that right now, because some of the abuse that you can get, some deserved, some not. If you can't take it, then I would suggest a different career path. So that's another reason why that I'm very kind of where I am, because I'm preparing them. They just don't know it until they get out there, and that's the part I do take very seriously, because it's cutthroat. I'm sure Latch and Liam will tell you the same stuff. You know, no matter what you're in, record producing, a band, any kind of performing, you're putting yourself out there to be judged. That's what performing is. You're saying, I have an ability. Hello, public. Here's what I can do. What do you think? And if they don't like it, you better be able to take it. For me, it's just that simple.
Yeah, and it's not their fault.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not their fault.
It's not their fault.
No. I don't like what you're doing. They've got every right to tell you so. And if your skin is thick enough, you'll take that on board and go, it's not a negative when someone tells me something's wrong. And that's another thing that I think has changed in society these days, that when you say something negative to someone, people start saying that, you know, you're being bullied and you're being attacked and you're this and you're that. For me, it doesn't mean that. That's not the intention. Sometimes it might come across that way, but the intent behind it is good. You're being taught how things are going to be. Because I don't teach people now who necessarily want to be professionals, I've mellowed now, so I don't really treat them that way. But if someone was to deliver me someone and go, here's a young kid who wants to be a professional, I'd give them the same speech I've just kind of given you and said, here's how it's going to go. So now you can decide whether you want to work with me or not. Here's what I've done. Here's the success that I've had. So you need to decide whether you can handle the way I'm going to do it or not. And then once they say yes, then it's game on. Luckily, the majority of the parents understand that, and they know what it takes. The kids often do not, because they're children.
But you're creating athletes.
Yes.
There's no the physicality involved, as well as the discipline.
Yeah, it's
especially for if you're going to have longevity within the dance game.
Yeah.
You know, you got to eat the right stuff. You got to do the training. You can't be down the pub, mate.
No.
You know, that's just the way it is. And you have to put your body through hell in order to be able to do the moves that you need to make.
Yeah.
Jason Orange didn't become successful, as you said, just because he chanced it.
No.
He was good.
I think Jason Orange, to me, is one of the best all-round performers I think I've ever met. He had the look, he had the charisma, he had the personality, and he had the skills. When he joined the Hitman and Her dance crew with us, he stood out like a beacon amongst all of us. You know, you can just see the star quality in someone, and you could see it in Jason right from the word go. You know, the fan mail started rolling in, and it was just, you could just see it in him. And you're right, he'd spent years learning to do what he can do, and especially with breakdance, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get hurt a lot. I think a lot of people, you know, you watch breakers now, and generally when you see them, you only get to see the good part. So you're watching all these moves and the spin on their heads and their elbows and their necks and all this. But to get to that point, it's brutal.